Well, hello everybody. Okay, we're going to check on this hive again. Last time we checked it was 513. We added a second box and put on our ape-of-our treatment. So we were going to check this. Now, this used to be called Follow Along Friday, but what we're going to do is it's just basically, it's not every Friday that you have to check on your colony, or every week I should say, but you do want to check on it certain times. And we've already added a box to it and Pro Sweet and pollen patties. So now we're just going to check on that and see where we're at as far as how far they got along with the box. I'm almost positive we'll have to add some Pro Sweet because they've been just taking it down like crazy, but we will see. There we go. We got a little more than half. That's good. Now again, it's a little more than half, and I don't want to have to add any more. I want to have them suck it down all the way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tilt this, and I'm going to keep it level like this. I'm going to put it right on that box just like that. Now I don't have to refill it because I didn't tip it up. All right, so let's check them. As you can see, they moved in. This is the frame that I brought up from the bottom. And now, one thing I didn't do is I didn't write on my frames. So now I'll write the year on my frames. So now I know when to replace them. That's when they were put on. As you can see, they started to work a couple of the frames. This is about normal. We're going to start, remember you always want to start from one end or the other. You never want to draw frames from the middle. And even though they're not using them, they still propolize these frames even way over here. See, they're all stuck together and probably stuck on the bottom. We'll use our handy dandy Hive tool that does the fulcrum motion. There you go. You can see they're starting to work this one. And this is the second to the end, so they're gonna draw it and they're gonna start to put honey in this because they usually always put honey in these end ones. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little manipulation with these. Come in here and I'll show you what I mean. You can see this whole entire frame is solid honey. A little bit of pollen in there, right there, but all this is honey. They're just starting to cap this cell here, these cells. So we're gonna end up putting this to the far outside. What we'll do is figure out which one. All right, so they got the, you wanna double check, make sure there's not eggs. You don't wanna be moving eggs. So there are no eggs in here. So we're going to put this, the heavy side, to the far outside. And we're going to make sure they keep that as honey, but then we're going to take some of these other frames that they just started and we're going to put those more closer to the middle, closer to the brood chamber. Hopefully this one, yep, same deal with this one. I can already tell by lifting it, it's just solid honey. Got a little bit of, I don't know, they put a couple larvae right in the dead center, if you can see right here. Right here, they put a little larvae in there, so we don't want to move this frame. We're going to keep it right where it's at. On this side's got even more larvae on it. You can see right in the dead center. It's all larvae. Some of it's even starting to be capped. Down at the bottom there, see, they're just starting to cap those cells. So that means this next frame is going to be booming. Which it should have a ton of brood on it. And you want to be careful because now you're getting into queen country and you don't want to squash your queen. That's from the frame down below. That's a decent frame. She's got eggs all the way to the outside on this side, and on this side she hasn't quite got there yet, so she's probably somewhere near this frame. Well, they started a little bit of burr comb there. Now, you can see the difference. Regular comb and this is all drone brood, okay? So now if this is regular brood, you might be able to leave it, but because it's drone brood and because it's just awkward, we're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna double check for the queen, make sure she's not on there. I don't see her anywhere. Okay, so then we're just gonna get rid of this piece of drone, or this burr comb. That's a good time to inspect for mites, and make sure you don't have your queen on there. Again, you don't want to be taking her out of the mix. And we're gonna get rid of these frames, get rid of these bees, I mean. That's good chicken food. That's going to the chickens later. And hopefully they'll start drawing that out a little bit better. But just remove that if it comes, if it happens. It happens sometimes. On the ape of our strip, because this one moved, we can keep it in here. So I'm not really going to go too much further. Normally on this, once you've seen eggs like we've seen on those first couple frames, then you can stop inspecting, because once you've seen eggs, you're pretty much good. You don't have to find your queen every time. Tons of eggs on this one, all sorts of eggs on the outside. I am scanning for the queen just because I wanted to show her to you, but I do not see her. Tons of eggs on this one. This is going to be a really good frame. She's got eggs all the way down to the bottom. Top, bottom, left, right, it's almost all eggs. A little bit of honey up in here. So, that's our inspection. Put this back in here. We're getting pretty close to adding our third box. And I'm looking down, and this frame isn't this frame, and half of this frame is being used. So before we add our third box on, I am going to wait a little bit, probably about another week, before I add that third and final box on. You want to run a 3-deep system. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a pollen patty. Now I did say in my last Tom's Tip Tuesday that we are going to be going through a dearth of pollen and nectar. So once you see the dandelions stop blooming, that's pretty much it for a little while. And if we run into a dearth, which means no nectar and no pollen coming in, you're going to want to supplement that, and you're going to want to feed and do pollen patties. Pollen patties for sure, because you just don't want them to slow down. And the reason you're putting a pollen patty on there is to trick that queen into thinking there's still a flow coming in, so then she won't back off laying. Now if there's a dearth and there's not a lot of stuff coming in, she's going to slow down with her laying because she knows she can't compete. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a half a patty.
So while you're putting that pollen patty on, what would be the reason to run 3 deep versus 2, and what would be the decision on which to run?
I tell most of my beginner people that you want to run 3 deep. Now that's what the U of M preaches. They preach a 3 deep system as well. And the reason is it just gives you more time and it gives the bees more room. So it's a very good idea, especially with Saskatraz. If you're running Saskatraz bees, they're very prolific breeders, or layers I should say. So they lay double the amount of eggs than a typical queen does of, let's say, like a Carnolian or an Italian. Get that little drone, he can go back in there. So 3 deep is recommended by the U and by me, especially for beginners. Beginner beekeepers, like I said, it just gives you that much more time. Keep my insulator on there. Just sometimes the nights get a little chilly. You probably wouldn't need the insulator anymore, but we're gonna put it on there. So now we're gonna check the date, the 28th, 5/28. Inspected, and we're just gonna say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames. Brood and eggs. So now we know we got about halfway as far as frames go, so another 3 or 4 frames and we are going to add our third deep. So there you go. There's the follow along with me and Jesse. Talk to you soon.